I am not.
Record the recorder.
Yes.
So, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
What?
You run the meetings. It's a good experience.
What's the question?
If there's anything else.
No, just call the meeting to order.
No, on the teams, they.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't, in here. Oh, they can't, right, they can't see us. But they can hear us. I mean, we should just ask. Bettina Sparrow, can you hear us on Teams there? If you can you unmute and let us know?
Hello, yes, I hear you loud and clear.
So
But we can only hear her.
great. Thanks, Bettina. We're testing on our audio.
Okay.
I think that should go through your, can you control the sound on your computer? If you go to like your sound setting, go to settings, system settings. Maybe just type sound. Yeah. I think that's saying that it is sending sound out of the
Yeah, looks like it.
HDMI. That's what we want. Then it should come out of the TV so everybody can hear it. We might have to do, if that doesn't work, is you might have to hold the microphone
Down to the computer. Yeah.
Oh, well, we just heard. Bettina,
Oh.
Bettina, could you say something again, please?
Hello, 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 hello.
So weird.
Maybe the Teams settings.
Has been busy in Lakeside, right?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, perfect.
It's ever in weddings.
Let's see. One more time, Bettina.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oop, perfect.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right.
I think we're good.
Good to go.
I mean, people can't see us, but they can, people on Teams, oh no, but if you share your screen on Teams, they'll see your screen and they'll see it here.
Yep.
So they can hear us, they can see your screen, they just can't see the room, which I think is fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I had Chase for a minute, but then I lost him. Hopefully I didn't deny him. Whoops. Okay. All right. Well, oh, for hell's sakes, Kenny, we have to be so.
I'd hate to have to come back and read.
I know, right? Yeah. How do you turn this thing on?
You know that thing, Blake? I don't know how to do that thing.
There you go. Last week.
Okay, we'll try this again. So I would like to call this meeting to order at 6:06 PM. We'll start with roll call.
Kristen Senek present.
Holly Roberts present.
Ken Morency, present.
Willie Greenwald present.
First of all, I would like to start off by thanking
Thanks.
everyone so much for coming here tonight. Sorry, I'm multitasking. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for coming here tonight. We really appreciate it. We love to see you guys here. We really look forward to getting more input on our current project of revising the current rules and regulations of the planning and zoning department for the county. So to kind of catch anybody that hasn't been following along as closely, kind of catch up with where we're at. It's been a long process. It's been over the last 5 years that things have been revised, reviewed, and now it's been kicked back again for us to go through it one more time. So that's kind of where we're at. So that's where we're looking for particularly a lot of public input as we go through this to try to write this out as best as possible. That will try to be in everyone's best interest. And I will mention Chase Harbor is here. He just got online. So, so I know those of you that are here, some of you have been here before and some of you haven't. Where we were thinking about starting, what we've been discussing is chapter 2. Is that agreeable with you guys to just do a brief kind of an overview of it? So that those that haven't been to the meetings, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
That's fine. I only, well, we don't know who guest is, but there's one gentleman, not to point anybody out, but I see one new face. I guess what I don't
Yes.
want to do is the folks that have been involved, I don't want to bore them to death either. So maybe we can just, I'd love to get comments from anyone, but.
Right. Did you get a chance to look at her too? I know it was pretty new to you guys the last time. Correct. So the stuff that is in red is what is the proposed additions. And then yes, the stuff that is stricken out is going to be proposed to be taken out.
I'll point out, there's a microphone sitting in that seat right there. Comments and folks can grab that and.
So I guess to start with, does anyone have any comments? Any comments or questions to start with?
Yeah, Mr. Copy of chapter 2, poke around over there to skin.
Yeah.
I didn't do my homework.
No, no, you're good. Like I said, it's kind of a learning curve for us as well.
Yeah.
I've got one that doesn't have all my notes on it. I should have made some copies. So if you want, you can just take my copy. So disregard the step and grade.
Just skim it real quick.
Yeah, nope, you're
Okay.
good. Fantastic.
You discuss it. Comments.
No, so we are going to merge the comments. In fact, Tess has been working on that, on getting all the comments together. So that's kind of my thought, is this is kind of like a good final meeting to go over. It was a good opportunity to come down, especially to Big Piney, for any folks here, anybody that has been missing out and hasn't, trying to get them caught up. And then we're taking into consideration too, like all of the other comments from all the past 5 years are now up online, and they're also available to all of us to take into consideration, but they're available for anybody else to view the comments from everyone. Yes.
It went up as of yesterday.
Yes. No, and that would be, yeah, that would be a great idea. So that's this first.
Those comments are on your side.
Yes, so this is our site right here. And if you go into the new 2025 proposed zoning and development regulations, and then if you go down to the bottom, consolidated. Yeah, they just got loaded up this afternoon, I believe. So, and we really appreciate our staff. Tess worked hard on getting all of this.
That's our working document,
Okay,
which doesn't contain public comment, just so you're taking.
okay, so, okay, here's all the individual comments. So for anybody that would like to,
Anybody know?
he's pretty sketchy.
Those are just the comments in gross, they're not indexed to.
It looks like they're just the comments that.
Yeah, so it's just how the emails came in.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it would be challenging to go through all those comments tonight
It would be.
because they're not tied to.
Right. There's quite a few of them. So like I said, we definitely have went over this pretty extensively over the last several meetings. And there's been some things that we haven't needed to change at all from the previous regulations, and then some things that have definitely been addressed that they would like to change in one way or another.
So the red, what you're proposing to add,
Correct.
so like on heavy industrial. To add, this district shall be at least 1 mile away from existing dwellings. But if we bought that land in the 80s, people have moved in closer to us. I want to have the same rights to do what we need to on that heavy industrial. That's what we bought it.
And that's been a concern, sure, that's been brought up by several people. Is that definitely?
The grandfather bought before, this just apply to new sold properties.
So the way that I understand it from Clayton is that it would be grandfathered in. So it would just apply to someone that buys a new. Yes.
My understanding is that no, you would not. I think, but we should, I mean, that would be a good question to confirm with Clayton, but I don't believe that if you have that, so you bought a piece of land and the regulations changed, I think that the right stays with the land, but that would be good to confirm.
Well, Clayton addressed that last week. He said it's more complicated because if you don't use the land for that specific purpose.
That is a different argument about
Non-conforming use.
non-conforming uses. So that would be if it went out of its use for a period of time and then changed ownership, or even, I guess it doesn't even have to change ownership, but that's an altogether different discussion than like use.
Context of the long
It did come up in that conversation, but it's a separate conversation.
No 16 years.
Go Go ahead.
A quick comment, maybe it'd be helpful.
Will you state your name, please?
Steve Christian.
Thank you.
Can we have Clayton maybe do a little legal memo about? I think that way we could then share that with everybody with the changes to the regulations, which they could impact the existing zone.
We can humbly request, we can't tell him to do anything, but we will. That's a good idea.
Well, the issue has come up several times in the most division.
I like that idea.
And since this issue's come up quite a few times and seems to be not what people want on that 1 mile away, existing 1 mile away from dwelling units. Can we amend that to change it now or just?
Well, I thought in the last meeting, we decided we weren't going to vote to change anything until the new board was set.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. I'm sorry.
And hopefully we can get through in a year, whatever those 5 people are.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
But yes, that, like I said, that
And-
has been brought up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. As far as the notes go, I do think a good point. I know this has been a item of discussion, trying to figure out, what the appropriate distance, if there's a distance or whatever. And I think that based on the discussions we've had with people with heavy industrial properties, at the very least, we should have in our notes, or I would like to have in our notes to consider changing the language from dwelling unit to residential. I was fixated on that distance, and that seems to be the main concern is, heavy industrial being put next to something that's residential. And so I feel like if we change the language to residential, it would alleviate that. It would still allow for heavy industrial to have dwelling units on site or next to commercial with dwelling units, whether they be houses or ADUs or whatever. Something for further discussion in the future anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we need to consider the latest commentary on that for sure.
Thanks, Chase.
We could draft people who've come in the past and have the opposing opinion and have a good discussion and try to find some middle ground.
Yeah.
Seems like that would just be for future zoning, though, it wouldn't be like what's existing.
Correct.
That's right. It wouldn't change any of the rights that are
Correct.
currently in.
I think just to reiterate some of the concerns that were brought up in the past were if, like Sandra, for example, where there are some dwelling units, if somebody were to try to rezone a light industrial lot to heavy industrial for, the purposes of the business or the property use or whatever, that it would be problematic just with the language. Obviously, there's no residential out there. But I think that was the main concern, was changing something from, potentially from commercial or light industrial to heavy industrial where it may be appropriate, not necessarily, a new heavy industrial subdivision.
Yeah, exactly. That was one of the key examples that were given. Yeah, or I guess we could start going through chapter 3 as well.
Are you just open for comment?
Right now, yes.
Tonight is a listening session.
Yes.
The idea that we want to hear from the
Okay.
public.
Especially since we've never been down here.
A little clarification on.
Can we, real quick, there's a microphone here and no, if you could just state your name and
Yeah, my name is Keith Hughes. And concerning the A1, where you talk about striking for the fees, they're charging for the use of their land. And also the incidental to agriculture, how's the gravel pit deal viewed on ag lands? If we prohibit that too much across the county, how are we gonna maintain roads and do our infrastructure that's needed? Be like Kemmer, where you're hauling it from Evanston or Green River, make it so expensive for people to operate.
So right now, as this proposal reads, is that if it's an A1 property, if it's anything that you would have to come and get a CUP for that, a conditional use permit. If it's anything that is under, is it 5 or 10 acres? Did Clayton say, or did Dennis say?
I think it's 5 or 2.
I think it's
Smaller.
I think it's 5. So anything over 5 acres, that kicks it over to the state. The state has to authorize that and you have to work with DEQ, anything that's over, I believe it's 5 acres.
15 acres.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry,
Mining required CUP. Get over that, it's a small permit.
yes. Yep, so as it stands right now, the way that this proposal is written is that it would still fall under a CUP. So you would have to come to us, apply for a CUP, and then that would have to go on to the commissioners to approve. And that would include with washing and screening or crushing, including batch plants to produce concrete.
that's really a consolidation of the current language. There's 3 in the current regs, there's 3 different things that are, we just consolidated it all into one. We've been currently it's under conditional use, so that didn't change. So there's really not a substantive change there. It's more of a editorial change.
Again, I've been to comment before, but I think there is a substantive change and it was a hurdle that you could get in KC, which is all conditional uses in A1 must be incidental to agriculture. So even if you come in for gravel pits, you have to demonstrate that it's incidental to agriculture.
Yes, and that has been something that's been brought up quite frequently. Again, what Mr. Christensen was referencing is where it says conditional uses, all conditional uses in A1 must be incidental to an agricultural use. It's been brought up by quite a few people that feel that should be stricken because just proving that it's incidental to an ag use. And what? Yes.
Should be on already, yes. Yeah, I'm together.
That's on. Okay, Alexander, does the county already have like 3 fairly large gravel banks? So we wouldn't really have to depend on gravel from a ranch or?
Not necessarily. So like there's several of the pits that are private. A lot of the pits that are private.
Is it, did the county just buy one of the Bonneret by the big horse by the river? Didn't they just buy a big gravel pit up there?
I was like, that's 8 years ago.
What's that?
Yes. So a lot of times what the county will do is they'll contract the gravel from the ranchers. And so truthfully, it's an extra income. Yeah,
That's all those rocks.
yeah, that's Evans.
That's Jackson's.
Yeah, that's Evans's private property.
And
that they've-
Town or somebody's pulling. Are they just pulling the rocks off public? Sell to owners that are building here. Going up Fremont Lake Road, there's all kinds of rocks and crushing going on there.
So the rocks that are coming down from there are being removed per the Forest Service and BLM. Because when they did the expansion on that road,
Mhm.
they needed to move those boulders. Well, then they became a safety hazard and a hazard for the wildlife. So then it was requested that those boulders be removed. So how those are available is you get a mining permit for those, and they're having people come up
So they were, yeah.
to pull them off. Yeah, so that's the reason behind them getting rid of those big boulders, though, is like I said, when they did that road reconstruction,
Mhm.
it ended up creating a safety, they considered it a safety
Yeah.
hazard and a hazard to the migrating deer.
Basically,
Yeah,
all the way up.
yeah. But I know that with most of those, they weren't allowed to dig. They were just, well, anything that was exposed, like any big boulders that were exposed, they wanted them removed, but they weren't actually, it wasn't like harvesting gravel or like actually digging pits to harvest rock up there.
And I just want to point out that in the county pits, they don't sell gravel or dirt to the public.
Oh, I know
So
that.
many, all of the private people that need road base and little rocks still need to go to private pits like Mr. Hughes or whoever, or have their own pit on their own land and use their own rocks the
Mhm.
way they want to.
Yeah, so
So,
the county owns no gravel pits.
no, so we have 4, 5, and then we have other chunks of land that could be a gravel pit, but
Yeah, by the Brazil,
certain people don't want it to be, but
by the Brazil, I think last year there.
for that, and then we have a section of Bond Grant and with a lot of places to big rocks in the future if we need to.
There's so many benefits to having a gravel pit, truthfully, because if you take a ranch and you have a rocky knoll that isn't good for anything, and you can harvest that gravel, it's usually pretty good gravel. You can harvest it and then you can reclaim it and turn it into a hayfield, at least more grazing. Like there's definite, because, you know, anybody that owns a ranch, they're stewards of the land. And so that, you know, they want to have as much production out of the land as they can. And so there's definite benefits to it because like I said, whether they're able to reclaim it into a hayfield or at least into grazing for wildlife, to grazing for their livestock, there's a lot of benefits to it.
Church that have gravel on their land and they can sell it to you or the county. We wouldn't have to buy gravel out of county.
Right.
I don't think we're buying any out of county.
No, I didn't say you were. I said you wouldn't have to if the county has gravel pits and there are so many ranchers that have gravel pits that it would not have to buy
Yeah, I agree. We don't have to buy some.
out of county.
Yeah.
But the people with the gravel are worried that we're gonna make the
I
gravel
can see,
so restrictive.
I can see that.
We run out of little rocks and then you would be trucking in little rocks,
Mhm.
things.
So
And
wouldn't it
everything
behoove,
would cost like Teton County.
wouldn't it behoove the planning and zoning to try to work with these agricultural lands that have gravel and not put as many restrictions that it seems to me you wanted to put?
I wasn't the one that had war on gravel pits.
Pardon?
I'm not a person that had the war on gravel.
No, I'm
pits.
not saying you are. I'm just saying there were restrictions.
There are people in this community that would like to be like Teton County where there are no permitted gravel pits and no one is allowed to have one, period.
Well, I say to them, move to Teton County.
I would like to mention too, if there's anyone online that has any comments, like I said, it's kind of open forum style right now. We're just trying to gather as much information as we can. So if anybody online has any comments or questions, please feel free to raise your hand and we would love to hear from you. So with that being said, it looks like we don't have many more comments. So we can move forward. Does anybody have anything last minute for chapter 2, which is what we had covered? Bettina, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Holly.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, in the overall scheme of things, the A1 lands are agricultural, and we value them highly in Sublette County. Is there a way or a plan to ensure that we keep X amount of agricultural land so that we don't piecemeal away the agricultural uses? And this is an overarching comment, not just on the gravel pits, for example.
So I think, Bettina, it is definitely the goal of the board, of the county. We recognize how truthfully valuable A1 ag land is. It is definitely one of our top priorities to maintain that land. In regards to, is there a plan as to how much we want to maintain? There's not. It has been brought up in the past. We've had some people that have asked about an overall map of what our view is, where the direction that we want to go. And I do know there's some counties that do have, Park County, for example, they actually have a progress map that they've laid out. They went through years of work and they have laid out basically what their, how they foresee the future development of Park County. We don't have anything like that, but I think just overall, it really is our goal, though, to preserve especially good producing A1 land.
Well, even having said that, Holly, there's no map that specifies especially good producing ag land. I think it would be useful, maybe hard to do, but for people moving here, people living here, people who want to develop whatever they want to do, to see something like that. It's almost like a migration corridor map. You have boundaries.
Mhm.
You have, it's anyway, that's my comment. I'd like to see such a thing.
Yes, thank you. Again, like I said, that has been brought up by several people, and it is, I think, it's a big undertaking, but it is something that I've already started to discuss with the commissioners and with the planning and zoning office. And I will be the first to say I don't even know how you would begin a project like that, but there are some examples of it out there. So yes, it is something that has been brought to our attention before. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
there anything you can fill us in on those conversations?
Just yeah, nope. So I just kind of, I've talked to a couple of the commissioners about it, and they said that they had kind of thought about it before. It was brief discussions, and I gave them the example, like I gave them the website to go to look at park counties. It really didn't expand any further than that. It was just kind of one of those that I asked them if anything like that had ever, that's how the conversation started, is I asked them if anything like that had ever been brought up before. And they said that, you know, it had been mentioned, but hadn't really gone anywhere with it, and they didn't really have any good examples. So like I said, that's when I told them that Park County had one. And so that was, yeah, that's about the extent of how the conversation went.
Seems to me a lot of the conservation easements are helping some of that too, along the migration corridors. A few of those key spots, I know on this end of the county, there's numerous conservation easements. It's gonna keep us from being chopped up on this end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think that it's a really good thing we're seeing. I see a lot of it in Daniel. You know, there's a lot of the ranches that have entered into conservation easements, and that definitely helps.
I have some, I guess, thoughts on that, just as a, you know, since we're speculating on a future plan. I think that a lot of the ranchers that put things into conservation easements, or, you know, landowners, not necessarily ranchers. I mean, some of the largest landowners in the county have property in conservation easements for, you know, there's tax benefits and things like that that may appeal to them. My concern with some sort of restriction on ag being able to be rezoned is you're going to devalue those properties pretty dramatically, for one, which I don't think that your regular ag owner would appreciate. And then there's also, the obvious, you know, or property rights sort of discussion. And then just the, you know, most of the county is public land. We're 83 or something % public land. Everything else was blanket zoned ag. And so if we put a limit on ag being able to be rezoned into something else that may suit it, I think it could be problematic. I think it's an interesting discussion. You know, I agree. I think that, my family has been ranching for 25 years. It's a hard thing to do in Sublette County. And it is productive, good ranch land. There's a lot of ag that is not productive, good ranch land that, you know, the highest and best use may be something else. And I guess I would just caution, you know, in that discussion, how we identify and regulate those properties.
Yeah, and I think, that's definitely a valid point, Chase. You take into point the application that we had last week. And that was a prime example of a piece of A1 property that, you know, is not productive as an A1 property, and has great potential to bring a good industrial use to our county. So yeah, I think that we definitely need to be cautious, but open-minded about it.
I would think that the conservation easements are a voluntary thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for us as a board to go ahead and, I'm with Chase, the restrictions ought to be really, really thought out before any of those are placed on, because like you said, it would devalue the property a great deal. And that's who are we to say too is of what's prime, agricultural land? You know, it depends on.
Right.
Can I ask my fellow board members here, do you think that the current regulations, I'm just not sure if your comments are about, do you think that we are currently doing that, or do you say we just need to be careful about doing that?
I guess I understand it as there's comments wanting us to restrict it. And, I want to be careful about not wanting to restrict, to adding restrictions that are, burdens that, would come back and bite somebody really bad. That's my thoughts. I'm not sure we're restricting it now, but I would not want to see it happen in the future much.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think that it's currently. But we would have to, just be careful not to go down that slippery slope and over restrict it for sure.
I think this kind of goes back to Mr. Christensen's comments, but also here, I think a lot of what we hear, if you look at our comprehensive plan, what our comprehensive plan talks a lot about is promoting, preserving, incentivizing, agricultural land and agricultural uses. And so I think like a lot of the concern we've heard about A1 is not that we need to necessarily maintain it as A1. Some people are saying that, but I think some of the more nuanced comments are saying, don't take A1 property and treat it like a commercial property. If you want to treat it like a commercial property, then rezone to a commercial district. That's I think a lot of the comments that we've heard have been concerned about calling it one thing and treating it like another, which I think is fair. And I think that's it. I tie it back to Mr. Christensen's comments, because one of the things that came up in the discussion around that incidental to agricultural use is one, supporting the comprehensive plan where there's a number of goals and policies that speak to that. But two, saying if there's not an agricultural use and you want to put up something that looks like a hotel, that's not, should that be called A1 or should it be called something that's a commercially oriented property? So I think it's about more attaching the right label to it. And then there is like this larger map and what Park County did. There's a kind of legislative or decision that the county commissioners need to make about what they want the future development of Sublette County to look like. And I was just looking, I hadn't seen the Park County thing, I just put it up, thanks for mentioning that. But similarly, like where do we want to see what types of development in the county as it evolves? So I think we all agree we want to see growth, we want to see things happen, but I just wanted to think that just put some more color on those comments about like A1 land and uses.
All right, so do we want to go ahead and start in on chapter 3 or
Other public has comment
on any part?
Seems like a bit of an exercise in futility. If you're not going to suggest any changes going through the chapters.
Well, we are, we have to get, like, you have to understand, like, this board's not gonna be the same next week. So like these five, like the 5 of us should right now decide and the people next week are stuck with it. Like, that's just not right?
No, I get that. It just, I'm not quite sure what we want to accomplish. I'm happy to support and sit through it.
But if we want to hear public comment, and that public comment, even if it's a new board, it would be the obligation of whoever's on the board to hear and, take note of those comments and whatever revisions are made in the future. So we want to be here to listen tonight, but there's not comments, there's not comments. It's not an exercise in futility. I think it's meaningful.
Well, I guess I have seen what's coming in the sense that if we're going to have a new board next week, they're not going to be the comments that we said today, they won't hear, I understand. They recorded, they listened to it. But I question whether jumping the chip should just go along with that. I do have comments in chapter 3. I didn't realize that. Move on to chapter 3. Like chapter 2, I'll provide written comments at some point. But I don't have no comments about chapter 2 right now that I raise on the top of my head. So it's not full.
Well, and I do apologize, and I will take fault for, I guess we're just trying to find the best way to get through this process. And over the last couple of weeks, we've had changes in the office. Our administrator is no longer there. Our assistant administrator is going to not longer be there. You know, there's a potential that we're definitely getting one new board member. And so I will say I haven't led this nearly as well as I should have, and I apologize for that. I guess we're just trying our best to try to lead this, try to get everyone's opinions in on this and make sure that everybody is aware of this, because this is a really big deal. And so, so I do apologize. I definitely don't want to waste anyone's time. I appreciate so much everyone coming here. And I guess I am trying to get a good direction as to how to proceed with this. Like I said, I think a big thing is with losing our administrator and our administrative assistant, we have to take them into consideration too as we're moving forward, you know, because that's who's going to have to enforce all that. So their opinion matters too. And so I think that overall we'll probably table this for a short time until we kind of get regrouped. And so that's where we all were just kind of thinking that no decisions would be made right now, kind of get regrouped, get the office back together, and then we can refocus. And in the meantime, just take as many comments as possible. So like I said, I do apologize. I will completely take ownership for the lack of, I guess, organization and direction. It's just been, we've thrown some curveballs. So.
Well, and I would just like to say, when we set all the meetings, we had no idea we were having any administrative changes, much less both of them being gone.
Yes.
We're just trying to pick dates out into the future so that they could get advertised, be on the website. And then in the last 8 weeks, there's been drastic changes.
And it was especially important for us to get down here because we've never had a meeting down here, and we want to continue to have these meetings down here as well as in Pinedale. So that's what we just didn't want to just totally scrap this meeting. So, Mr. Hughes.
Yeah. So you called the other day, you suggested that I come, and I'm happy to find it on the internet, the draft proposals.
Yes.
So I could be more prepared the next time.
Yep. So
Where exactly what we were doing.
yes, and I'm sorry. So if you,
There's no blame there.
yep. So this is our website right here. Ooh.
So you got the council.
Getting there to get permits. and that.
Yep.
Yes.
So then if you go to that 2025 proposed zoning and development right there,
Okay.
and then it has it broke down by chapters because it's a pretty long document. So then you can go in there, and it's the same one that you just saw that I had. It just doesn't have all my scratches on it. And like I said, so what is in black is what is our current regulation. And then what is in red is red and blue are what are the proposals to change, scratch, add.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that. So I'll make myself.
Yes. Well, and that,
It is, but although when he said red and then you read it, that wasn't in addition, so I was confused about what he's looking at. That's what we got. Tina's got her.
oh. Sorry, Bettina, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Holly, I think it behooves everybody to stop this meeting right now. I mean, any comments that I could make now, I could make when the new board is formulated. I didn't know the administrators were gone. Didn't know about that upheaval. Just my 2 cents worth, but I think you might save everybody some time by just calling the meeting at what, 6:51 or 7 o'clock. Anyway, my 2 cents. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I completely hear you, Bettina, but I also want to respect the people, especially the ones that showed up here in person, that drove all the way. So I just want to make sure that we still do, because the thing is that we get everybody's comments, because even if we have new board members and of course the new administration, all of the comments are taken in consideration, no different than they have been over the last 5 years. And so I want to make sure that anybody that has made the effort to come out here, that they didn't come out here for nothing. We want to make sure if they have any comments that they are heard tonight. Joe, go ahead.
Thanks, Holly. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, thank you.
2 things. From the perspective of supporting existing property rights, we should be leaving that ability to the landowner. The best way for them to preserve a piece of property, if they want to, is to put it in a conservation easement, not by being forced to. Second thing, kind of along the lines of your guys' process, a proposal for you would be to make, that would help make the public participation maybe a little easier, would be to get a working copy that the board is using with your proposed changes, not the 2022 ones, but like as you as a board have come up with new additions or removals, to have those available online prior to the next meeting. I know it's a hurdle to get that done, but we're having a hard time, I think, keeping track of the difference between the 22 red lines that are posted and what it is that you guys are thinking might be the new proposed red lines. So it's hard to know what to comment on. Because like you guys said, this is a different board.
Do you know anybody that's tech savvy that could help facilitate that, Joe?
I would I will gladly help Chase do that if he needs help.
No, I think that is a good idea, Joe, because there's a lot of information there, and it does get confusing too with all the red lines and the crosses and the blue lines and yes, definitely, I think before we have have our discussion to kind of finalize things, I would like to get a better copy online for everybody to see. I think the thing is right now is that I wouldn't say that we really are leaning one direction or the other. Like, we're not to that point yet. We've just been trying to mostly gather public comment for chapter 2. So we haven't made very much progress yet, but
Okay. Makes sense.
yeah, but I agree with you. We need to move forward with this for sure.
That document you were looking at earlier that Tess posted today, it's like the working document that we gave to Whiskey Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the closest interpretation of where we were at with the comments that we wanted answered from Jeremy of the things that we were thinking about changing.
And I guess like a great place to start would just be for me to get on and add our comments that we've had thus far to that working document.
I was just letting Joe know that's what that document is.
Yeah.
It's on the Tess posted today.
Yeah, thanks, Blake. Appreciate it. I think Holly's right on there. Just if you guys can add your comments to that, so that way we know where the board as a whole is sitting, that would be super useful.
Real quick, just to say, so that working document is like where we did working sessions and we discussed public, we kind of deliberated over our own thoughts plus public comment on particular sections. We edited, we made comments, we asked questions. So I think we would actually have to go through that process again in order to create a new document. I don't think it's Like, so that document doesn't contain the public comment. We took the public comment and created that document in a public meeting in front of the public. Without, I mean, we always took public comment at some point, but we just worked for a while. It was how we got that. So
Which,
that would be called for again.
yeah, which I had envisioned after we had went through public comment, all the chapters, that's what we were getting.
Yeah, that was my thinking as well. Mr. Christensen, did you have?
I just wanted to clarify that the hyperlink down the bottom page is
But one is a clean version and one has comments.
So this one that I have pulled up right there, that's what the link is at the very bottom.
that is
That's what we submitted back in October of 2020.
Whiskey Rock.
What we've been working on currently is just the red line. Yeah,
I just want to reiterate what Joe said about the protection of private rights for our private properties. Keep that in mind, and preservation of how it is zoned currently. I have expectations of what we have, and I have future plans. I hate to see that changed. So what it's zoned as now should follow the same rules, but we can get caught up in this document, but I wouldn't lose sight of private property rights and making sure we can still operate in this county. It'd be easy to get hung up in this and the wording, but gotta keep that bigger goal in mind, in my opinion.
and I think that that is something to me that is very important to remember is that we're not writing these regulations necessarily for today. We're not writing these regulations for tomorrow. We're writing these regulations for the unforeseeable future. So like we might only see what's in front of us, but we have to make sure that we're writing this in a way that it's not going to come turn around and be used against us in 15 years from now. Yes.
Someone had called me the other day and was asking about A1 stuff, and they'd made a really good comment, which I'd never thought about. I don't know why I'd never thought about it that way. There's someone that their grandpa had just passed away the last couple of years, and that's what he said. What he said that really resonated with me was, he's like, these are things that my grandparents made sure got put in this document, and they would not, nobody in this county would sit and tell my grandpa that he couldn't do that on his ranch. And so not only looking in the future, like your comment, Holly, I think we need to remember that those things that when that original document in 78 was written were the things that the people that lived here at the time felt were important and that they might want to do someday. And we got to really think hard about before we want to take those away. Because I know I don't want to make my grandparents mad, and I'm still not here. Sorry, that was a long story to get to a point. But
It was a good one. We loved it.
I had never thought about that way,
Right.
you know what I mean? About like really like, you know, when our parents wrote this or your grandparents, it's what would they be happy with these changes? I think a lot of people would say no. Some would say yes, but
Well, I guess we won't drag this out any longer than we have to.
nobody else online has to. I mean, most of those are not. I really thought there would be more people from Pine here.
Yeah. I know it's
Yeah.
it's a busy night though. Right? They've got a team roping tonight. I talked to Espen Shides. I know. I talked to Espen Shides earlier and they're doing a team roping, so.
Those ag people getting in the way.
But we will definitely continue to have meetings down here as well when we get back into the process of going over this, because I think it is super important to be convenient for everyone and to be accessible to everyone. Again, I would just like to reiterate, please send us your comments. Your written comments are fantastic. Some people like to call, which is great too, because I really like to talk, anybody that knows me. So, but yeah, it's really important that we hear from everybody because this does affect everyone. I would also like to take this time to give us very special thanks to Kenny because he has so thanklessly served on this board for how many years? A long time. How many? Forever. No, but Kenny, we can never tell you how much we have appreciated you, and you have represented so well and spent so many hours, unpaid hours, and we really, really appreciate you, and we're gonna miss you dearly, for
Well,
sure.
I appreciate that. It's been a real pleasure working with everyone on the board, past members and current as well. And been kind of fun bartering back and forth with some, but I'm gonna miss this, but not too much.
I want to just second Holly's comments. Thank you, Ken. Really enjoyed working with
Thank you.
all your service. to the
We hope we see you
Oh, I'll
at every meeting.
I was gonna point out, just don't forget, don't be like everyone else, and when you leave the board, you just like never have a comment about like.
That's for a reason.
Yeah,
Well, that's not true. Dennis came to quite a few meetings for a while.
Pat
Yeah.
calls in on a lot.
It's a lot.
Yep. Yeah, but anyhow, but thank you.
Yeah, I will
Kenny.
participate, continuing this process, not as much as I have, but I've been humbled by how much work other board members put in here, from what it's a thankless job what you're doing, and what Chris did on all the comments and stuff that he's done and Blake for years with piles of stuff. And it's been a learning experience. I've appreciated it, and I thank the public, and anybody else wants to jump into one of these things, go for it.
It was interesting how many people put in a letter.
Was there 7?
Well, it was like 14.
Oh, that's great. Good.
Yeah.
Some bunch. But that's down.
It's got to be a record.
Right?
Yeah, it is. I've never seen that many.
You have them all?
Yeah,
You got the inside edge.
9. There's 9. I don't know. Someone texted it to me, so I wasn't the one that went and got it. But yeah, 9's gotta be the most ever.
So you guys are aware on the 1st of July, next Tuesday, they'll do reappointments. So Blake is up for a reappointment, so he has applied. And Kenny has decided to resign and not reapply for his position, so.
Just didn't apply.
Oh, sorry. He didn't
Kenny quit.
reapply. Sorry, he didn't reapply. So anyhow, but, so on Tuesday, we will have one for sure new board member. We'll see how that goes. And that's something that's appointed. That's another question I've had a lot is how our board is chosen, and we apply for it. It's an appointed position. We apply for it, and then we have to go before the commissioners, and then they choose who is appointed.
Is there any way to, where they are in the county, because it'd be great to have another South County
Yes,
person come forward.
It would be,
you can answer.
no, go ahead.
I went ahead and asked a South County person to join up. I specifically reached out to him, and I don't know if there are others from the South County, but
Mhm. There's 2 others.
I certainly wanted that. And I talked to the commissioners too. I advised them that it would be really helpful if there was more representation, somebody further south than Blake. I don't know who's further south is, but it's not right.
So it's been brought up a lot over the years because we're not district, right? But every time it's come up, it's at the times when, like, there's been so many years where like Denny got propositioned to put an application in to come on the board, where like that's why 9 is so many, because out of the 12 years I've been here since I got appointed, I mean, 8 of those years you were going and either between someone on the board or someone in the office, you were going and finding people that want to participate in this process. So every time the district thing has been brought up, it's like, well, how do you do that when we can't get 5 people to even apply now? And then if you do the district thing and then you don't, and then it turns into a weird procedural thing, and then you could end up where you're operating with a small board, you know what I mean? And you have 2 empty seats, and then if one person misses a meeting, now you don't have quorum, and now you really wasted everybody's time because you all showed up and nobody can do anything. So the district thing has been brought up a bunch, and I support it in a way that how we implement it has never been worked out. But if we continue to get more and more involvement, more people are, applying, I think that it might not be a bad idea to ask the commissioners if that was the road they would like to walk down.
All we have to do is go ahead and
Every other kind of way you elect people's districts.
all we have to do is go ahead and redo this policy about every 4 years, and we'll be getting on, I suppose. Anyway, I appreciate it, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. All right, well, one last call for any last comments, and then I won't put you through this anymore.
Can I ask the people of Big Pine?
Absolutely.
So is it helpful for us to come down here? I mean, like as we work through more work, assuming I get reappointed or not, but assuming for the board, whoever, is it easier and more convenient for you to participate if every once in a while they have meetings here?
It is, yeah. Yeah.
I think you should have a meeting down here, at least maybe, twice a year. And no other reason than, as you can see, we're filling. For no other reason than, to try and encourage some self-county participation, which when I hear there's an awful lot of North County participation, anti-development type ideas, and the healthy economy has developed. So, but I'm very happy that there's 30 people from South County that have applied. So,
Yeah.
Well, you might attend the commissioners meeting and encourage them to, other than heavily. Well, whatever.
There you go.
I called them all. I don't know if I made a difference, but
So you guys are aware too. So the 3 people, if you're not aware, is Gudrid Espenscheid and France Clark and David Waller are the 3 from down here. So
I'm the only one that doesn't know everybody who applied.
I called Janess and asked her is how. I can send you a list though. Mr. Christensen?
Have the commissioners published the time they're gonna take up the matter of breakfast?
Yes, at approximately 9:30. If you've ever been to a commissioners meeting, it's give or take, but 9:30 is when it's on the agenda. So
Should be on time.
that's true. Yeah, that's I think that's one of the first things on the agenda. So, right, yes.
Putting bridges in front of us.
Yes. All right. Oh, and to let you folks know too, once we get back on track of doing this, the way I plan to have it structured is to have a schedule of somewhat of a schedule of like, at this meeting, we're gonna be going over this chapter. We're gonna be discussing it this meeting. Cause that's the way, cause honestly, there's some chapters in here that really aren't anything too exciting and aren't, that are just the legal jargon. And there's certain things that in here that obviously, you may be more interested than other things. So I'm going to try to, like I said, once we get things settled in the office and the new board and we get back on track on this, I'll have it published when the meeting dates are, what we're planning to cover. That way you can read through it. If it's something that you're interested in, that you want to come discuss, talk about questions, then you're aware of like what the breakdown will be. So, and we won't go any further past that. That way, like I said, we make sure that everybody's able to come to the things in particular that they want to hit on. So.
The answer will be, public comment, initial public comment, gathering those live ideas about, and you as a board will go through that, say this is the change we're gonna make, these are the changes we're gonna make. And they'll come back and open up again, public comment, saying these are the lines, so you'll just go and check it and then go on to the next check.
Yes, so, sorry.
So, broad, throw the net, cast the wide net.
Yeah.
All public comments. Itself will go through those comments and then make changes to the current red line. Building that up and say, here's the changes that we thought, here's the changes we have in this. Or if that's just you to make a decision and then that's not in back up with them.
I mean, my recommendation would be that we do working sessions. I think that we should always have some amount of public comment, but not reopen it up entirely, and that we vote on it to the commissioners. There'll be another round of public comment from the commissioners.
So after you had your control working session, you'll bring it back and limit it.
Yeah, to something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're still not sure who's creating this document. And especially if we're gonna pull all the graphs and stuff in. And just cut and paste.
Yeah.
And then, and then it goes to the commissioners and then everyone will have their ability to have their comments on what.
And when it does go to commissioners, it will be a complete revision.
Of the intent. I assume so. Yes.
Yeah. What's the question?
When it goes before the commissioners, will it just be a review of the whole thing or will the commissioners break it down? I would assume, I don't know. We haven't been there yet.
What to do, so I'll do whatever to do.
Yes, we'll submit the entire thing to them.
We reserve the right to make what we just said.
Yes.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
No, not do like chapter to chapter to them where. I mean, everything I've got from them in meetings, Holly, was they want us to go back through they've really pushed for the whole reopening of public comment. And they want a complete worked document in one.
Finished, complete.
Is the way what I believe I was tasked with.
Yeah, I probably should have rephrased my question. I guess that's when you submit it to the Park County Commissioners, it's going to be a complete revision of all the papers. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, if no one else has anything, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:15 p.m. And again, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you, those that have taken your time to be online and especially those that have come in here in person. So thank you guys so much. Have a great night.